Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Politics Now, where I talk about modern politics in modern America. And today we are going to be discussing why DeSantis really has no chance of winning the nomination for the Republican Party in the 2024 election, and why it would probably be the best decision for him just to drop out before he embarrasses himself even more. And yeah, let's get into it. So, DeSantis, I gotta tell you guys, he's not doing that great. He got the big boost after the 2022 elections, and a lot of that was blamed on Trump for some reason, because nobody likes taking blame. So he got a bit of a boost, and people were saying, oh, he's going to overtake Trump. He's going to be the front runner. People don't like Trump, so they're going to pick DeSantis. It got very close at one point, but still, Trump was up 13 points, and then the indictments happened against Trump. He gets a boost. Another one happens. He gets another boost. All these other candidates join the race and are stealing points from DeSantis, and honestly, it's not looking pretty good. It's not looking good at all for him. He has never recovered from his sort of drop down after Trump got so many points on the polls because of the indictments, and his favorability has gone from 44 to around 50, 56 even at one point. I think he used to be at around 57 at his highest point, and he's still cruising around 53, 52. And DeSantis, it's hard for him to even break the teens. He's still cruising around high teens and low 20s, and he hasn't changed that whatsoever for the time being. And all these other candidates who are sort of running on the same platform as DeSantis as the anti-Trump neocon candidate, they just take votes away from him. And it's not like even when these candidates drop out of the race during the election that they're gonna all vote for DeSantis, because a lot of them might vote for Trump, and a lot of the candidates that these people are voting for, these are their first choices, and their second choice is more likely Trump. And a lot of people also like DeSantis, but will support Trump more because Trump has more of a pull on his base, whereas most of the DeSantis supporters, they could go with any of these other candidates or just vote Trump if DeSantis doesn't win out, because he just doesn't have a strong enough grasp on his own base, while Trump has more so a movement on his hand, regardless of if he's been indicted, if he's getting arrested, and that is only bouncing off because a lot of the people who vote for Trump and are passionate Trump supporters, they don't like all of these other candidates and their sort of 2000s style neocon base, and you're just not getting far with that. You're not getting any votes with all of these diehard Trump supporters when you're running a more rhino sort of George Bush style campaign, and you're just not going to get their vote. A lot of them are just not going to vote if DeSantis is at the top of the ticket, which is why he would probably be a worse contender for a lot of these swing states, because that Trump base, which is pretty sizable, they just don't go out to vote if it's not Trump. You need a candidate similar to him, or you need Trump if you're ever going to win the election. And DeSantis, he's not pulling on that at all, because if he pulled on that, then he would be polling even worse, because people aren't going to go for the second-rate Trump wannabe in the primary. If he won the nomination in the primary election, and then he started acting like a sort of Trump base, yeah, he would lose a lot of the more rhino middle ground neocon vote, but he could maybe get some Trump voters on his side, but it wouldn't be enough, because they want Trump. They don't want this second-rate wannabe sort of conservative Trump-like candidate. They want the actual guy, and you're just not getting that. And just pulling on the neocon base, it already hurt a lot of people when he's sort of running with the endorsements of sort of like the Jeb Bush kind of candidate, and Jeb Bush is one of his supporters, so that really hurts him when he's sort of seen as the more figurehead for the mainstream 2000 style Republican Party to regain power. And a lot of people don't really like that. That's why they voted for Trump in 2016 and beyond, because they hate it. They don't like the sort of 2000 style approach to being a George Bush style candidate, because nobody wants to be a neocon anymore. Nobody wants to vote for a neocon anymore. George Bush has completely destroyed that angle of being a neocon, and basically that ideology is pretty much dead in the Republican Party. There's still some support for it, which is why you have all these other neocon candidates getting around 10 points or 20 points in DeSantis' case, but it's losing more and more power, which is why they support DeSantis, is because that's a way for them to regain power. If DeSantis wins the nomination and then the presidency, that would mean that they can steer course away from the sort of Trump populist ideology and more back towards the 2012-2008 style politics, which will hurt them in the long run, because there's a reason why none of the neocon candidates won in 2016, because people don't like that. They don't care for it. And this is in 2016, this is 2024, which neoconservatism is even more hated. I would say 2016, I'd say it would be the more popular version of republicanism. 2024, I don't think it is at all. It's gotten even more hated as time has gone on, because as the Democratic Party gets more extreme, it's seem less and less applicable to actually negotiate with them, because you're essentially negotiating with people who hate you and will never want to negotiate with you unless you just do what they say, and that's seen as weak. Yeah, so if you want to win the election, then you're not going to have to rely on the neocon vote, because they're just not sizable enough anymore, because the Republican Party has changed so much because of the Trump presidency. People like this new populist, sort of more conservative ideology, and people don't really care for the 2012-2000 style of politics, which is kind of why, if you look at the polls with DeSantis versus Biden, which Biden pretty much guaranteed to be the Democratic nominee, RFK just not put in enough of a good fight. He's doing fine, but yeah, he's not winning the vote at all. I don't see him winning the vote. He's still polling at around DeSantis numbers, while Biden is polling at around 60. So, yeah, he's not getting the vote. It's very clear. If the Democrats are willing to rig the 2020 vote in favor of Biden, when Biden has such a huge lead, I don't think that they would shy away from rigging it towards Biden again, especially since he is their best player. And why wouldn't you want your best player to go up instead of the more moderate sort of playing both sides, which isn't going to win out in the end, because you're going to lose that hardcore base. And yeah, DeSantis, he's losing by a point in the polls, which honestly is not looking too good. The best polls for DeSantis are him up a point, which is not looking very good. And this is with Harvard Harris, which honestly I find as the more trusted poll, the more trusted poll It's pretty accurate most of the time. And yeah, you got +1, tie, +1, and then, of course, you got not the very inaccurate polls, which are Biden +6, +3, maybe around Biden +1, which is the average, but +6, +3, that is absolutely insane. I don't see that doing that well. I don't really think that that DeSantis would do as well as Trump in a general election against Biden, but +6 for Biden, that's a bit too mean and extreme. He still could put up a tough fight, but just not as tough. And honestly, if it's still a spread of +1 for Biden, then you're not doing that well. Especially since, in the state of Florida for the Republican primary, there hasn't been a lot of polls, but the most recent polls show that not only is DeSantis losing, but Trump is gaining in a lead. The most recent poll from the start of May, because there hasn't been a lot of polling, has Trump +8, and honestly, DeSantis has been doing a lot better than when this poll was taken, because he was still around in the teens, and he's gone back up to about 20. So I would think that DeSantis, it would be more so a Trump +5, but that's still +5 points. That's not very good for your own state where you are the governor. That's kind of like how a lot of South Carolina sort of candidates in 2016, they lost South Carolina to Trump, even though they were incumbents from South Carolina. And you're just not doing that well if you're losing in your own state, especially if you're the popular governor there in a Republican primary. And that could probably be the end of the DeSantis campaign. It's a failure at the end of the tunnel. You fail on Super Tuesday, you fail in the first 4 states, and then you wait until Florida, because that's the turnaround. That's when I start beating Trump at his own game, and then you lose the state by a hefty majority, and it's not going too well. Then your campaign has basically died at that point. Your campaign is over. You've ended the race as an utter embarrassment for losing your own state. You become sort of the 2016 runner-ups. You're on the level as Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, and Chris Christie. And honestly, if he ran again in 2028 after losing the election, I could totally see him being in this bottom category with 5 points or so, maybe 7 on a good day. But yeah, he's not doing too well. This will totally destroy his political career if he keeps going on with this losing race and this losing strategy. You're not going to win if you lose your own state in a Republican primary after losing every single state before that. It's just not going to work out for you. And nobody is going to vote for you if you are such a failure at a presidential campaign. And honestly, he's going to lose all of his reputation instead of just staying governor and then going after Trump, which was supposed to be how he was going to do it. Trump was going to win 2024. He's the president for one term, and then DeSantis goes in 2028 and has a 2-term presidency. That was the plan. And then DeSantis threw a Molotov cocktail into that, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to be president in 2024, and look how that turned out. You're losing to Trump by 32.1 points. And honestly, it's going to hurt him even more besides this poll of the Republican primary, because honestly, with an embarrassment like that, I could totally see another primary that he joins in. Again, he's going down here with Mike Pence and Nikki Haley, where he's probably getting Mike Pence's numbers, as the two bigger fish will fight amongst them, and he'll remember, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't have run in 2024, because I could have been one of those main front runners, especially since Trump is not in this election, and I honestly was supposed to be the successor, because a lot of Trump voters also like me, before I decided to pick a really stupid idea, which was to run against him in an election that he has been building up since 2020, and honestly, it's not going to go well for him. And yeah, this is basically the collapse of his own political career, and yeah, we're just seeing it unravel. His campaign is just completely imploding on itself as we look and see how he could have chosen the path of being the successor, but he threw his hat in too early and jumped the gun, and look how that went. He got shot by the gun after jumping over it, and he's just not doing too well. He isn't going to be president probably ever now, because he's already destroyed his credibility by running a neocon campaign, running against Trump, which a lot of Trump voters aren't going to forget, and they're probably not going to vote for you because you ran against their main guy, the guy who was supposed to be your predecessor and sort of a passing of the torch to you in a two-term presidency, but you ran against him, and now people are going to have bad blood with you, and you're just not going to win out in the end. You're just going to be another one of these sort of forgotten candidates that maybe on a good day, like Mike Pence, they'll get 7 points, and Nikki Haley getting 6 points, but yeah, you're going to end up like Scott, Christie, all of these other candidates, and you're just going to be stuck there, and eventually, what are you going to do? You've lost every single election because you jumped the gun too early, and you're just completely over. Your political career is over. You were a governor who went rogue and decided to run for president, and look how that ended up. You failed, and now your career is over. Yep. So, do you think that DeSantis' career is over? Make sure to leave it in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. This has been a long one, I know, but yeah, I just had a lot to talk about. Bye.